What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Ross the Boss coming at you with an all-new Let's Play Europa Universalis 4. As you can see, we are starting as a brand new nation here, one that we have not played before. We will be starting as Castile, and our entire goal for this campaign will, of course, be to conquer all of Africa and, of course, be able to explore and to conquer most of the Indian Peninsula. And if we have enough time, my goal, of course, will be to move into the Spice Islands and to control some of that trade. Now, if all goes according to plan, we will be one of the most powerful nations and, of course, the richest nation in the entire world. Of course, our very first goal here is we are going to be establishing our rivals. The first thing we do any game, we see that England, Burgundy, and Aragon have all decided to rival us, so we are going to be rivaling them back, both England, Burgundy, and Aragon. And of course, by rivaling different provinces, if we have all three rivals, our power projection here at the top of the screen will, of course, grow and grow over time. And of course, more power projection means the stronger you are, and it gives you a variety of different benefits, as well as having other smaller nations fear you. So of course, that is very, very good. We are going to be establishing our advisors. As you can see here, that we have an absolute god-awful king, King Juan II. He is a naive enthusiast, a zealot, and well-advised. Now, you're able to have 6 skills in each, template here. And of course, we only have 4 out of 18, which is god-awful. But nothing compares to how awful our son is. He is absolutely good for nothing, a 0-0-0. And of course, he is infertile, meaning his ability to make babies is going to be very, very challenging for us. We are going to go ahead and choose our advisors. Purchasing some advisors will directly influence the amount of power we gain in each of these available slots. Now, of course, we have a variety to choose from, and we have some level 2 advisors and some level 1 advisors. If we look at the prices here, you can see that some of these level 1 advisors will only cost us 1 ducat every single month. And though we would get more administrative power had we purchased a level 2, it would be almost 4 times as much income. And don't get me wrong, this number will change later on in the game, but for the time being, we're going to try to conserve our money here and get something very cost efficient. I believe we are going to be purchasing the Philosopher, getting the yearly prestige. And for our diplomatic advisor, we only have 2 options here, either a spy master or a trader. Having more trading efficiency will give us more income. And of course, we are going to be moving into our military advisor. We have a Grand Captain, very, very nice land maintenance modifier, morale of armies, and a land force limit modifier. I believe I would like to get the morale, most likely because we will be going to war here very shortly. More morale means a tiny bit more health. As you can see here, there's a very small fraction. So of course, with more health means our units will fight longer. And of course, because they are fighting longer, we will deal more damage. We have a variety of missions to choose from: improve our prestige, solidify our papal relations, or finish the Reconquista. I believe we will finish the Reconquista, and if, of course, we capture these 3 provinces in southern Iberia, the Iberian Peninsula being all of Spain, we are going to get 15% additional morale, which is that health we talked about, and manpower recovery speed for at least the next 10 years upon completion. Now, the reason why we want to finish this Reconquista, if we go into our religious map mode here in the bottom right corner, you can see that all of Europe is Catholic, except for these 3 tiny provinces being Sunni, or the Islamic faith. And of course, our entire goal will be to purge their heresy and grow the Catholic and Christian faith here. Of course, one of the benefits of having a Catholic faith, not only because our state religion here, go into our open and close our country view, into religion, you can see that our nation, of course, is Catholic, and we are going to get a tolerance of the true faith for any country here that is Catholic, meaning it would be a lot harder for nations, or rebels at least, to have an uprising while they are Catholic, which is obviously a very good benefit. In the meantime, we have a variety of nations around us. Aragon has, of course, rivaled us, but we are going to attempt to improve our relations with France. We are going to go ahead and try to take over Navarra. I believe we're going to have a somewhat similar strategy. We are going to attempt to vassalize Navarra, because I have a feeling that the pen is a lot mightier than the sword, if you get my drift. So instead of wasting our manpower and ducats trying to take them over militarily, they are a mountainous province. Though we would surely win, it could attempt actually be a phylic victory. And of course, the benefits might not outweigh some of the cost of losing all of this manpower. So what we're going to do is, they already like us. We are going to attempt to improve relations and get an alliance as soon as we can. In the meantime, we also have a truce with Granada. So not only would we like to take over Navarra, but we will be attacking Granada here in February of 1448, so unfortunately about 4 more years. Now, one of the primary reasons that we do want Navarra under our control, now don't get me wrong, this is a very, very weak province with only 7 development compared to something like Toledo, or that's a bad example. Only 16 development. I guess Spain is very weak. You know, don't get me wrong, 7 development is very, very, it's not good, but it'll certainly help us. The reason why we want Navarra is you can see all of these provinces here is wasteland territory. So, of course, they cannot be traversed or colonized. So, of course, if we ever did go to war with Europe here, which will certainly happen in the next 400 years of gameplay, all of the European forces will either have to go through the northern tip of Navarra or through the southern tip of Aragon. And of course, this is a mountainous province. If we were to own Navarra and of course build a castle here, we would certainly have a very, very strategic province for defense, at least against the European nations, of course. And we are going to go ahead, speed up the clock to about 3 of 5. Navarra would like to offer us an alliance. We are going to go ahead and possibly begin mothballing some of our ships. Of course, we are not in a war. We have 4 heavy ships and 10 transport ships. Because we are not in a war, we are going to lower our maintenance drastically. And unfortunately, because we won't be paying as much upkeep, these ships will deteriorate and rot for the time being. But of course, they will cost a substantial less amount. As you can see here, one of these heavy ships are very expensive. 0.44 ducats each month, and then you times that by 4, which is an absolute ridiculous amount. And of course, we are going to go into our military map mode, and we are going to mothball all of our forts as well. You can see here that we are now paying 0 garrison size from before, when each fort had about 2,000 garrison units that we were paying upkeep on. Now, of course, with a garrison of 0, they are very, very easily taken over. So we will have to play quite defensively for at least the time being. And of course, we are going to be lowering our army maintenance, of course. So not only do we lower our army maintenance, our fort maintenance, and our fleet maintenance, we are now gaining about 7 ducats every month. And of course, I could go to 0 army maintenance, but I'm going to go to about 10%, just because we will get a penalty if we have 0% army maintenance. The morale would take substantially longer to grow over time. As you can see, these are now yellow compared to what they were. And the morale has absolutely been diminished because we lowered our army maintenance. So if we were to get surprise attacked, we would certainly lose. You know, I don't even know if our military would be able to retreat. They would just get outright destroyed. Now, we do have a variety of other ships here. We have our barks, also known as our light ships. We're going to select their missions and protect trade here inside the Safi trade node. And the reason why we're going to do that is we will be funneling, if we go to our trade map mode, you can see that we are getting 15% of all of this money here in the node. Now, don't get me wrong, 2.3 ducats isn't very much at all. But, you know, sending some trade ships in will get me a little bit extra income, possibly even more than what these trade ships are worth. And, of course, if you're wondering why 15% of 2.3 equals 1.09, it actually does not, because you can see here that Castile, which is me, is giving away 21.5 power in this direction, and Granada is actually boosting their trade as well. We're going to let the game tick on away now, and we are going to go into our political map mode. Our coast has been raided. And we are going to attempt to give Navarra a royal marriage. And of course, we would like to go into our influence tab. Portugal here would like an alliance. We are going to decline because we will be declaring on Portugal very soon. My goal is to vassalize Navarra without using any type of manpower. So of course, this will need to reach 190 improved relations. And I do have a variety of tricks up my sleeve. We are going to be offering military access of Navarra, so they have free troop movement throughout my entire country, though I'm not too sure why they would want that, but of course it will improve the amount of relations we have. A military leader has left us. This is very, very unfortunate. Our only general has died, and he actually was a very good general. Not off to a very good start here. But of course, we will be recruiting more generals later in the game. And as I stated, if we go to our court here, you can see that our heir is absolutely god-awful. And our king is 39 years old and our heir is 20 years old. Because they are both over age 16, we have the ability here to create a king as a general and an heir as a general. I don't want my king to die because we would lose one stability and then have Enrique take over, who is absolutely god-awful, 0-0-0, and he is infertile. So instead, we're going to try to expedite things. We have Enrique here as a general. Because he will be fighting in combat, it will be much more easier for him to be slain. You know, that is going to sound very ominous and very morbid, but we are going to try to get Enrique to die as soon as possible. In the meantime, we are going to most likely be getting a variety of new troops, possibly just a few more infantry, and maybe even one more Latin Knight. I would like to get 10 and 4, 14 and 14. So that way, we have some stronger militaries and we'll be able to hit the ground running when we declare war here on Granada. In the meantime, it looks like France has declared war against England. So, of course, England is going to get its butt kicked. Now, I'm curious. Portugal is still allied with England. If I were to declare on Portugal now, I would certainly be able to take over some territory because England would not join in. I'm going to build up my spy network here on Portugal, even though they do like me very much. If we go into our trade map mode, down here in the bottom right corner, I would love to take over some of these estuaries and these coastal developmental centers, which of course is their capital and of course a high development province of Porto. My entire goal will be to improve this number, the trade power that we get, you know, up from about 36 to hopefully, I would love to get 100%, but that would be very, very challenging. You know, I think at the most we'll probably get 98% or maybe 94%. Because it actually grows progressively, and the higher and higher you get, the harder it will be to try to secure more trade power. The game tries to look out for the littler countries, the smaller ones like Granada, or some one province miners called OPMs. Obviously, we don't have anything over here, but even these smaller countries that only have 6 development, you know, freaking all of this territory is nowhere near compared to something like 17 development over in this province. So as you can see here, the game, Europa Universalis 4 tries to give the smaller countries a chance as well. So that way you can play practically any campaign or any nation in the game. Now, our armies have been completed. Before I declare war on Granada, I would love to declare war on Portugal. Aragon, England. Yeah, not too bad. Now, I could, of course, declare war on Aragon, but if all goes according to plan, I'm going to try to keep them in check because we don't want Austria, the Papal States, and Hungary. Even though they are very far away, I don't want to risk losing the game very early on. In the meantime, I probably will go ahead and attack Portugal here as soon as I can. And I would love to take over one of these smaller islands as well. And I guess we'll see exactly how this works out. So I have a variety of different, options here, whether it be Navarra, Portugal, or Granada. We have growth of the administration. As the state and its bureaucracy, oh my goodness, and its bureaucracy grow, there is an ever-growing need of people to oversee and administrate various lands and functions. The nobility have traditionally been more associated with military services to the state, but have increasingly made it clear that they still expect to be the first in line when government offices are being handed out. The burghers, on the other hand, claim that the nobility consider such appointments as mere rewards and will use them only to enrich themselves. Instead, the burghers argue we should appoint men out of individual merit. The unexpected death of a trusted secretary has left a vacant position to be filled at the center of this conflict, with the burghers supporting one candidate and the nobility expecting us to pick another. While both candidates are talented men, this has to be a political decision. Now, of course, we could either give it to the nobility, we could give it to the burghers, or we could give it to the clergy. Now, if we go into our country view, we have a variety of different estates. This country in particular only has 3. So we have the merchant class, which is like the middle class, the workers. We have the clergy, which is obviously like the church. And back in the year 1445, the Catholics had quite a substantial amount of power. And of course, we have the very rich themselves, the nobility. Each of these provide a variety of benefits. We want to have every estate loyal, and we also will get more benefits the higher influence they have. So, of course, you're probably wondering, well, why don't we just let these burghers and clergies and nobilities drastically improve the amount of influence over and over and over again? But unfortunately, what will happen is one of these estates here will attempt to have a coup and take over our government. So our goal here is to have high loyalty and medium influence, not too high. And of course, my favorite are the burghers because we get more trade and income, but I believe at this time, I would like to give this to the nobility, but let's take a look and see what options we have. This is what I would love to do, get global trade power, but this would absolutely tank the amount of loyalty from the nobility. You know what? I think I am going to... Self-made men are what we need to run this country. Now, of course, we are going to see some very upset nobility here. Our loyalty will improve to about 40% over time, so we don't really need to do too much. But I believe I will call in an imperial diet. That way, we did lose a little bit of prestige, but of course, our loyalty has gone up. And, of course, our influence has gone up as well. I would like to demand military power. And, I think I am going to do this. Had I been under 50% influence, I would have only gained 50 military power. But, of course, this early in the game, I would love to take as much as I can. I am going to seek support of the clergy. Actually, I lied. I'm going to send an emissary to the Pope, gaining 10 papal influence, which of course will give me papal influence, and of course this the whole idea would give me clergy influence, bringing me up to above 50%. Now that we are above 50%, we are going to milk the administrative power from the clergy. This will upset them greatly. And of course, we would like to get over 50% from the burghers. We are going to grant monopoly charters. And of course, we are going to ask for contribution. So not only are we getting money, which is why I love the burghers so much, or we've actually given them a tax. We didn't just, they didn't just give it to us. And we are going to demand diplomatic support. And we are still having a positive loyalty here with the burghers, which is very nice to see. We are going to be declaring war here, most likely on Portugal, before we declare on Granada. And that's because if I can declare war on Portugal, I can force them to break their alliance with England, and it looks like it's already happened. And they are in a war with Morocco, so they are certainly having their hands tied. Now, I believe what I really want to do, unfortunately, I would like to take both of these islands. Now, if I have the ability to take over Portugal very early in the game, we could possibly stop them from discovering new islands, and of course, we could take those islands for ourselves. The entire goal of this campaign will be to explore around the coast of Africa and to go into, you know, India and possibly these smaller spice islands as well. And in order to do that, we are going to need to get exploration ideas and expansionist ideas, but that won't be for quite a long time. We have exploration ideas and expansion ideas. We could pick any of these, but for the gameplay and build that we are running, we would rather it would be most optimal and most efficient to do it a variety of certain ways. The noble families request aid. As you can see, they have a very, very small loyalty, and we want to do everything we can to improve that. The most powerful of the noble families in the state often had vast wealth, but that did not stop them. Like their monarchs from getting into financial troubles, they too could accumulate debts that escaped their ability to pay. They could, at those times, come to the monarch to request aid. The monarchs were often receptive since they would usually be related by blood or marriage. Oh my goodness. We are about to lose a lot of income, but of course this would drastically improve our loyalty. And we certainly don't want to lose administrative power, so we are going to have to take that small amount of treasury boost, or small amount of treasury drain, to improve our nobility's loyalty. And as soon as we get to 20 spy network, we are going to be fabricating a claim on Porto and then going ahead and declaring war. In the meantime, we are going to go ahead and unmothball all of our troops, our navies, go into our military map mode, and activate all of our forts. You can see here they do have 0 garrison size. Every single month, it's not going to be going straight to 2,000. This particular fort will only grow by 140 each month. Rigorous research, academic institutions are not immune to corruption, and the profits that can be made by abusing positions of great influence can stand in the way of creating a good environment for research. However, Castilian scientists are largely above this, focusing on genuine intellectual achievements above titles and financial contributions. The lack of corruption in society allows us to explore and invent without being impeded by selfish interests. We have gained a variety of administrative, diplomatic, and military power. The search for knowledge must be valued in itself. Most of the time we don't get good events, we get bad events, but that is nice to see when something does go well. Once we get 20 spy network, we will begin our very first fabrication, and of course we won't be able to do that just yet. We have a cardinal minister. One of the cardinals in Castile has proven to be a skilled administrator and already provides useful advice to the king. At this point, making him a minister in our government would almost be only a formality, but an important formality nonetheless, since he may grow more powerful yet. Having a cardinal in our service would certainly lend us credibility with the Pope and strengthen the sentiment that Castile is a Catholic nation first and foremost. I, of course, could gain prestige, which I do need at this time, but I believe I will allow this cardinal to be a minister. The clergy will gain influence, and a variety of national bonuses will be granted to Castile. Absolutely amazing. Every month that goes by, our morale is improving. Unfortunately, we are losing a little bit of income every single month, but that is because we are repairing our ships that have been damaged. We are going to be moving them into Sevilla. We are going to be adding our god-awful son Enrique to a general position, and we do have some extra military power, though we don't have enough to invest in a pike square. I will be spending some military power recruiting a general, and I'm hoping we get a good one and we get a god-awful general. I could spend more military power and roll the dice once again, but I don't believe I will be doing that. And as soon as we can, we are going to be declaring war on Portugal. All right, well, I am going to go ahead and end this episode here. As always, thank you so much for joining me. And in the next episode, we will begin our invasion of Portugal.